all this conversation. You know you that bitch when you cause all this conversation.
Hello.
You know you that bitch when you cause all this conversation.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Coach Mean Reen, and I am so happy you are here. Before I introduce my host, I think she's trying to get into the live right now. But before I introduce her, I just want to do a little housekeeping, do a little cleaning. So first, it's Sunday. I can't believe it. I can't believe today is actually Sunday already. Like the weekend zoomed by, like completely zoomed by. And here we are again on Sunday or the eve, Monday Eve. Tomorrow starts the I Want to Be Down Fitness Challenge. If you have not signed up for the challenge yet, you still have plenty of time to sign up. I'm actually going to put the link to sign up for the challenge in the chat, and I'll also put it in the comment section after the video, after this live posts. The challenge will run from May 5th to May 25th. And if you are interested in signing up for the challenge, please do so by today so that I can send you more information in your email so that you know what you're doing for this challenge. It starts tomorrow. And if you sign up, I'm telling you right now, if you sign up and you lock in with this challenge, in 3 weeks from now, you're going to be looking at yourself like, who that? But you're going to work. We definitely are going to put in a lot of work to get there. Hi Stash, how you doing, Stash? What's up? So without further ado, guys, I have a wonderful host that I actually met here on YouTube, and she's coming to us all the way from a lovely land called Australia. Isn't that exciting? And she's up at the crack of dawn on Monday morning just so she can share her wealth of knowledge with us. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome my ghost, and I'm going to allow my co-host, and I'm going to allow her to properly introduce herself.
Hello!
Hello, we did it!
G'day, guys! Hello!
Hello.
Well, first of all, hello to you!
Hello.
It's nice to be invited. And
I really appreciate this. And I'm going to give you the floor so you can introduce yourself.
Okay.
Tell people about your channel, who you are, and all of the things.
Okay, cool. Well, it's 8 a.m. on a Monday morning in Australia.
Thank you.
It's not that early, but, you know, it's coming into winter here in Australia, so it's getting a little cooler.
Wow.
So Australia does get cold, people. It does get cold here. Even though I live in a place called Southeast Queensland, and it's called the sunny state for a reason. It's normally quite warm, and we are starting to get cold. So I'm just got to acknowledge that because I'm a warm person. I love the sun. If it's sunny, I'm alive and kicking. If it's rainy and miserable, I'm like, I don't want to get out of bed. So I think you're probably like the same.
I'm exactly the same. I like warm weather. I hate when it gets cold. And I was born in the winter, so that's weird.
Well, actually, so was I. Yeah, so interesting, hey? But yeah, here I am in Australia, and Australia is a far away place from all you guys over in the States and, you know, people in the in the Northern Hemisphere. Like, for us to travel, it's far. So, you know, you have to be committed, and it means you have to save money. So I guess that's really who I am. Xploradora 80. Xploradora is like a spin on Dora the Explorer. It's a nickname. My name is not really Dora, but my real name is Mutiara. And it's not easy. It's not easy to say, Mutiara. So I've had lots of different nicknames in my life. Trust me, many. And even as a small child, I couldn't even say my name. So I was given a nickname, Sophie.
What?
How did I know. Yeah.
Mutiara.
Yeah. Mutiara. Yeah. So it's in Mutiara. Yes. So you can only imagine the short version of my real name.
Mute?
No,
What?
Tiara.
Mut.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we won't go there, okay? Um, but yes, I have many different variations of my name. So growing up, it was Sophie, and because I used to travel to Indonesia, I'm half Indonesian, hence the name Mutiara actually means pearl.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm a mixed bag. I like being, from half Indonesia, half Australia. I was born in Australia. I've never
Mm-hmm.
lived in Indonesia, but I have traveled to Indonesia quite a few times over my life. I only just recently went to Indonesia again, also to, re-immerse myself in my mother's culture. So that's an experience. And I guess, coming from, a traveling, somewhat traveling background as a young child, I was immersed into different cultures at a young
Wow.
age. So I saw the world and what it had to offer. And I thought, wow, this is really interesting. It's not like my backyard.
Right.
A lot of us, and I'm just generalizing here, but a lot of us that haven't traveled, it's easy to see that our backyard is what reality is, and unfortunately it is not reality.
Hmm.
There's a whole different world out there, and some of us are lucky to travel, some of us don't want to travel, and that's okay. But I probably would say, go outside your backyard. It doesn't even have to be overseas. It can
Right.
be literally, I can drive an hour from where I live in Queensland, and I mean, an hour in Queensland is still a long way. Is a different world. Like, it's on
Hmm.
the other side of my town, and it's actually, there's a place called Inala, and it's like going to Vietnam. Honestly,
Wow.
it is amazing. And like, there's just obviously Vietnamese, people, and they're playing their mahjong in the courtyard, and
Wow.
they're around the perimeters, all these fresh fruit and vegetable from different countries like Vietnam and Asia.
Mm-hmm.
There's an African population there too. So you walk in there and it's like spot the Aussie, honestly, and it's amazing. And it's an hour from where I live. So I'm not saying that you need to travel overseas and get a passport, because that's, it's not cheap, you know,
Right.
but you can even explore your own backyard. And I think that's what travel is. It's, getting outside your little comfort zone and, yeah, getting outside your box, because there's
Yeah.
so much outside. And even in your town you live in, I bet you there's places you haven't even seen.
That's the truth.
So,
Because
yeah.
growing up, I grew up in New York,
Ah,
and like traditional New Yorkers, like people that grow up there, the only time that we'll go to like the Statue of Liberty or other like landmarks is on a school trip, and that's it. Like
yeah.
you don't
They're
go
just,
there and explore on your own. It's right literally in your backyard, and you don't go.
yeah. And that's probably for the tourists more, isn't it? Because I've been to New York
Right.
and I saw the Statue of Liberty in the background. Yeah.
And
Yeah. So it's
I can't
interesting.
tell you how many times I've been. I haven't. I've passed it, but I haven't actually gone.
Interesting. Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
because Stash is also from New York. That's right. Stash is from New York, and he actually lives in the city. Stash, how many times have you been to the Statue of Liberty? It's so crazy. So I get
Let's
what
see
you're
what he
saying,
says.
but that's the reason why I asked you to come on is exactly what you just said. First of all, you have an amazing spirit and passion about traveling. And I think that a part of like developing into a whole person is to experience different cultures and to go to places outside of your comfort zone. I talk a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
about coming outside of your comfort zone. I talk about that a lot, but that's also like traveling, because sometimes people don't want to travel because they're kind of afraid of the unknown.
Yep. And they're
So I
scared. And look,
really appreciate that. I really
yeah. And
appreciate
look,
your perspective.
the biggest thing I share in my channel is that you can travel solo, because I think that's a lot of people's, like, again, I'm female, we're both female, we can
Hmm.
generalize about females, but I'm sure it's the same with males, that when you get to a certain age, probably over 30, when all your friends are getting married and having children, or you're single and you don't have children and you don't have anyone to travel with, you want to travel, but you don't want to go by yourself, then you don't go. A lot of people don't go. And I have a lot
Yeah.
of friends that are in that case, that they had children, they got married, and they never traveled because it was, quite expensive. They were raising their family. Or I have girlfriends that didn't get married, didn't have children, and want to travel, but they don't want to go alone. And that's a sad place to be. And I'm not married. I don't have children. I have a partner, a long-term partner. But I travel solo a lot because he doesn't want to travel some of the places I go to. I'm out there. I push the box.
Yeah.
I don't even know where the box is. Is it around me? So that's what I try to promote, is that, you don't have to travel with someone, and you don't have to wait. Because, for example, obviously I grew up traveling to Asia, and that wasn't very expensive. Back in the day, it wasn't expensive. But, my mum and dad prioritized, getting their children to see their motherland, And through that, I went to Singapore and Malaysia and Indonesia and bits of Indonesia, because Indonesia is a massive country. So mum's from Sumatra. So I got to see, a little bit of what the world is out there at a young age. So when I was able to travel, early 20s, obviously I wanted to go with my friends or my boyfriends at the time. And again, for different reasons, they didn't have money, car payments, life. I was wanting to do the Kentucky tour. Have you ever heard of the Kentucky tour?
No, what is that? Tell me.
Oh, okay. I thought Kentucky was American. Interesting. Okay. Well, Kentucky tour is a tour for under 35-year-olds. And basically they just get drunk and travel the world. It's awesome. I want to do it.
Wow.
I'm not under 35 anymore.
I've never heard of that ever.
Oh my gosh. So it's like it's a tour company, basically. So basically 30 days in Europe on a bus with a whole lot of other crazy people.
Because Stash, you're single. You should think about stuff like this and travel the world. You never know who you'll meet out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people met their partners on Kentucky. And like I said, just basically, it's just a tour with a whole lot of other people your age, and getting drunk, possibly, mingling and seeing, Europe. That's what it was about. But look, funnily enough, I couldn't even get my friends to want to do it with me. They all wanted to do it, but no one could afford to do it at the time I wanted to go. So
I think that's another important piece too, is like sometimes you want to travel with your friends, but you're in a different financial area than they are and they can't do it.
Yep.
Then you feel bad for being able to do it, But I'm not against solo travel, like you said.
No.
I'm not against that at all.
Yeah, so look, I didn't do that Kentucky tour. I did it by myself. I went backpacking by myself as a 25-year-old, and it was scary. I was just like, I worked like a dog. I worked 3 jobs to pay for that trip as a 25-year-old. My parents aren't wealthy to pay for that trip. I wish I was a trust fund baby, but I'm not. And I wish I had a sugar daddy, but I don't. I'm still looking. But, you pull it together. And look, you know what? As that 25-year-old, I was crapping myself on the plane by myself. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to Europe for the first time. I booked for 3 months. I tell you, I got to mainland France and it was an experience. No one spoke English because I was stupidly thinking that everyone spoke English.
Oh, no,
they don't. I rang home on the telephone and I went, Dad, what have I done? Like, I was like, I've booked 3 months in Europe and I'm by myself backpacking. I have a book. It's called A Lonely Planet. I don't know if anyone's heard of that. A Lonely Planet. It's like a guidebook. I had that book. That was my Bible. And I was like, what am I going to do? I can't speak the language. No one will talk to me. No one will help me. And my dad just said to me, he goes, get on the train, go to a main city, go to Paris. At least Paris, you'll have some people that will speak English. That was the best information someone gave me. It was probably in my head, but I was too in my head at the time. And I got on the train and I went to Paris. And again, I was trying to parlez-vous English? Can you speak English to anyone? And people are just walking past me going,
oh my God.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, what have I done? And you know what? An American girl stopped and said, I speak English. What's wrong? So You know what? That lovely girl, and I wish I was able to exchange phone numbers or Facebooks back in the day. We didn't have that. I didn't have Facebook back in the day.
Yeah.
But she took me across the road to McDonald's. We sat there and she said, right, you just catch the metro. This is what you do. Get a backpackers. You got The Lonely Planet. Read it. Book it. Book it. You know,
Yeah.
just go to it. And it just calmed me down. Someone listened, just someone listened to me just for a second and gave me a little bit of a tip that I probably knew, but I was just again too frazzled in a different
Yeah.
country.
Yeah. With no one that spoke your language. Like that.
Yeah. But it was just such an immersion of like anxiety, excitement. Paris is my country that I've always wanted to visit. And, you know, people didn't speak English. I couldn't believe it. But you know what? People don't speak English, you know? A lot of places don't speak English. And a lot of places now I've been to don't speak English. But I think I can, I now kind of, I guess I understand how to work it. But, you know, that whole trip could have went a completely different way. I could have went, you know what? I'm going back to the UK where they speak English and I'm going to stay there for 3 months, you know?
Yeah,
And, but
but
I
then you
didn't.
wouldn't have experienced Paris,
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly. I would love to go back to Paris and I'd like to live in Paris for 3 months just to experience, you know, the Parisian world. And a lot of
Yeah.
people, have you been to Paris?
I have not. I've been to
Okay.
London several times, but
Okay.
never to Paris.
Okay. So Paris has a stigma that a lot of people just, Parisians are rude. And look, I could say Parisians are rude because they didn't stop and help me. But you know, Parisians have a way.
Mhm.
They don't want to. They speak French. You're in France. You're in their country. Speak our language. That's their thing. So you know, it is what it is. But you can get by. But I don't hold that against them. I still think it's an amazing country,
Yeah.
and I can't wait to go back. I've been because Paris is in the middle of Europe, so to speak. You kind of go through it a few times.
Hmm.
So I've been lucky to go to Paris, I think maybe 3 or 4 times now.
Wow.
And yeah, and just again, just maybe sometimes 1 or 2 days through, but you know, you get to pick up on more and more things, and it's a beautiful place. And look, the last time I went there was with a boyfriend at the time.
Oh.
He's no longer my boyfriend, thankfully. Oh my God, hallelujah. But you know what? He knew I loved Paris, and I said, "Oh, it's an amazing place." We were there in winter; it was cold and grey. Okay,
Mm-mm.
he hated it. He goes, "It stinks. It's grey. It's old. There's poop on the street. There's homeless people." He could only see the grey.
Yeah.
You know, so if you only look at what's in front of you, of course, that's what you see. But
Yeah.
if you really immerse yourself and get past that, you can see the beauty. And you know what? Even in the rain, I thought Paris was amazing.
Yeah.
So
I want to go to Paris because I love old cities. Like
yeah, there's so much
like
history.
I was talking with someone from work, and they just came back from, they went to London. They went to, well, not London, they went to the United Kingdom. And they were like, you know, our old is like 200 years, 300 years the most. Their
Hmm.
old is like thousands of
Oh,
years. So you see these structures, and it's just beautiful. The architecture that you
yeah,
see all over the place. Like that's what I want to go. That's what I want to see. Like when I go to London, I truly appreciate that too there. Like it's, you can see how old the place is and
yeah,
how old the city is. And that, I like that. I don't, you know,
yeah. It's
but
different, but it's
you
different to
weren't
our
meant to be
backyard,
with
isn't
that
it?
person because obviously they were extremely negative.
Yeah, that. And you know what? I was there for Valentine's Day too.
Oh no. See.
Oh, it was horrible. It was a Valentine's Day to forget. But you
I
know
just
what?
want to
I
take a
still
minute
loved it.
to say, to acknowledge everyone in the chat. I've
Yep,
been doing it in the chat, but I want to just say it out
yep.
loud. Sometimes after the fact, the people that watch the replay, they're not able to see the chat. So we have Honey in the building. Is this Honey Lover Friend Honey, or is this another Honey? Because I would like to know that. We have Next Level Vision here. And Next Level said that she has been to Paris. We
Ah,
have Stash
what was your
Cash in the
experience?
building. How was your experience when you went Next Level? Did you enjoy Paris? I'll give her a
It's
second
always,
to respond.
yeah, it's always
We have
interesting to see where people's,
Miss
people's
Jay in
vibe
the
on it.
building as well. Hi, Jay. Oh, it
Hi,
is.
Jay.
It is Honey Lover Friend. Ooh, you in incognito. Oh, okay. And RP, welcome to the live, RP. It's nice to see you here. I appreciate it. So we were talking about Paris. So I want to ask you this. Like, what if you could name your favorite trip? Where was it?
Favorite trip, or you mean
Like,
favorite
like
place?
your favorite place or trip, either one.
Okay. It's hard, okay?
Mhm.
And I am very, very grateful for my gifts from the universe. I have been to I've traveled a bit. There's a lot of trips to be thankful for. So I
Yeah.
probably couldn't pin down one. But when you say kind of trip, one of the things that really fires up for me is it's interesting. It was a little kind of like a 3 or 4 day trip. It was only
Mm.
supposed to be an overnighter. I was living in Mexico at the time, and I was visiting a girlfriend in Tabasco, her hometown. And I'd never been to this town. And
Tabasco is the name of the town. I love
yes,
that.
Tabasco is the name of the state, actually. It's a state, it's apparently really big for cattle in Mexico.
Oh.
Anyway, it's close to Palenque. Palenque is one of the big Mayan ruins. Okay,
Mhm.
so while I was living in the Cancun region, which is the Riviera Maya, which is full of a lot of Mayan ruins. I love like climbing temples and ruins, and yeah,
Yeah.
very Indiana Jones. If I had a
Mhm.
a previous life, I'd be like you know Tomb Raider, or Indiana Jones or something combined, and their daughter or something. um, but I was visiting her in her hometown, and unfortunately, she got called back to where she was living, and she said, "Look, stay in my family home. Just go do your thing by yourself." Which is, again, I don't mind doing my thing, but it wasn't what I was planned. So
Right.
I packed a overnight little backpack, day pack, and I had my bikini because I was planning to go to a waterfall. It was called
Ooh.
Aquazul, which means blue
Ooh.
water. And so I went on the local bus, and I went to
Mhm.
this little Aquazul. And I kind of looked on, where I was looking on the phone, I was like, you know what? I'm near a lot of other Mayan ruins.
Mhm.
You know what? I've got my bikini. I've got one change of outfit because I was going for one night. Let's just go and see what happens. You've got the time. And so with a little backpack, it's so much easier to get around because you're not carting anything. Like, I normally carry a big backpack, and then I have a day pack on front of me. That's how I
Mhm.
carry my stuff. I don't carry suitcases. But if you were carrying a suitcase, it's harder to, it's sometimes harder to negotiate, and even with a big backpack. So I
Right.
had one little day pack, nothing really on me, I was kind of free as a bird. And I ended up going for 4 nights, and I ended up going into
Wow.
Guatemala, and I ended up seeing like 5 different
Wow.
Mayan ruins. So from Tikal, which is one of the biggest Mayan ruins, and a whole lot of ones, but I really wanted to see. And it was because it was last minute and not planned, and I had a little day pack. I don't know, it something resonated with me. So when you say what was one of your best trips, for me, it was like that trip, because I was like, I was seeing these Mayan ruins that, you can only, like,
Yeah.
you were talking about, like, we live in a country that's not very old, America, Australia, we're
Right.
very young, we're very young. We don't have the old architecture, but the Mayan ruins, we're talking thousands of years old. It is like
Yeah. If
amazing.
you're
It's
into
like,
history, that's where you need to go.
yeah. And like,
Yeah.
funnily enough, you don't even need to be into history. You can just go, what the heck? Where am I? Like, it's
How did
just
they
like,
build, and how did they build that?
yeah,
How?
like it's like like the pyramids. How the hell did they build that? Like, we
How
can
did they
hardly
do that?
build, how we can't even build, like, some of our structures fall down. We're in a very in a society now that, we build new houses, and after about 5 years they need a new roof,
Yeah.
like, and the pyramids are still up standing, and the Mayan
Yeah.
ruins. How the hell were these cultures, without the privilege that we have today, building these massive structures? It's amazing.
Amazing.
That's what travel
It's
is.
amazing. It's
Yeah.
truly
So
amazing.
yeah. So for me, that was a highlight for me, because I could travel lightly and just, see some. I lived out my fantasy of being like Indiana Jones and, Tomb Raider's daughter, basically. Okay, I was climbing these little pyramids. I've got big feet too, right? I'm not short. I'm tall. I've got big feet,
How tall are
and
you?
I'm 175 centimeters, so I don't know what that is in your. I don't
Oh
know.
no, I had someone in the
Yeah,
chat. What's
what's that?
175 centimeters in American?
Yeah, I'm not short. Okay, I'm not short, and I've got size 10 feet. I think in US that's probably. Oh, I don't know. I've got a big foot. Okay, look, if I was a man, I'd be, pretty popular.
Hey.
So in climbing these little pyramids, these big pyramids, the Mayan people have small feet. So I am like on my tippy toes climbing up these little temples, these big temples. So it was not easy. It
Oh,
was fun.
5'8". Jay said it. You're 5'8", 5'8".
Okay,
Oh, so
okay,
you're tall.
yeah. So I'm not short. So if you've seen photos of my mum is very short.
Your
So
mom is adorable. I was watching your
oh
video earlier, and she's so cute.
yeah, she
That's
loves.
really
You know
nice
what?
that you're able to travel with her.
Oh, you know what? I was so glad to do that because
Yeah.
she's wanted to get her daughters together to go on a trip back to her homeland and her granddaughter now. And
Mhm.
that was that trip. It was like I went first with her, and then my sister and her daughter met up with us in the middle, and we had a holiday together as a 1 week. And then I went home and she stayed with my mum and took her home. My mum's about 76 now, so she's a little bit, it's hard to navigate travel, when you get older. It's a big, travel, airports are crazy.
Oh,
So,
that's the worst part.
yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask you. Like, what is your least favorite part about traveling?
Oh, okay. Oh, gosh. My least favorite part is all figuring out the money, okay? Because just because I just came from Indonesia, Indonesia use rupiah, which is their biggest note is worth about $5 American. Put it that way.
Wow.
Okay. So if you think about it, when you're withdrawing money, because Indonesia use a lot of cash, if you're withdrawing money, you want to withdraw about, at least about $200 at a time. You don't want to carry $1,000 or anything like that. Okay.
Right.
But you think about it, right? For me personally, I took about $200 out at a time, which is about $100 American, because
Mhm.
that gets you far. I had a pile of notes this high.
You was
I was like,
making
it's
it
not easy.
rain.
I was like, what the hell? And but the other thing is, when you travel, is if you're trying to change your money at a currency converter,
Yeah.
you can get ripped off. Like Mexico do this, a lot of countries do this. You get ripped off, and especially with countries that have got small notes. You're trying to count. You're not familiar with the notes, and 10,000 rupiah, or no, 100,000 rupiah is like $10, and it's just like you're counting all these notes, and there's all these people behind you. You're stressed. You've got all these notes in front of you. You're thinking, I'm going to get robbed, but you're only counting $100.
Right.
And it's easy for them to give you the wrong money, put it that way. Okay, so that's probably my least favorite thing about travel is figuring out the money, because I
Definitely.
mean, I know it's easy to put it on your card, but putting it on your card comes with a couple of things too. And my thing is about traveling cheaply to go for longer,
Yeah.
or go more often. So I try to travel, try to do the things that get me further on a trip. um
So
and then a lot of that. Yep.
when you said the 10,000 rupiah,
Yep.
like w- how much what can you buy with that
Ah,
there?
okay. So I made a mistake. 100,000 rupee is the
Oh,
smallest note, and that's
100,000.
yep. 100,000 rupee is the smallest note, and with 100,000 rupiah, you could buy oh um like a McDonald's. If you went to McDonald's,
Mm.
um, one meal at McDonald's, because
Wow.
McDonald's is expensive anywhere you go. So let me break it down. A can of Coke, because can of Cokes are pretty relative in worlds, or a can of Coke was, oh gosh, I could buy a lot of cans of Coke with 100,000 rupiah. So a can of Coke, it's hard to work out. This is what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
currency really hard, and with a hundred
But it's not
thousand
a lot
rupiah,
of money. It's not like it's not
no,
like if you have
no,
100,000 rupiah, you have money. You
no,
can
God
buy a
no.
meal pretty much.
No, no, but it's interesting, right? In our scale of life, that's true,
Hmm.
yeah. But 100,000 rupiah to a local in Indonesia is a lot of money.
Yeah.
When the when the average wage is so poorly, you know, 100,000 rupiah is a lot of money. Yeah.
Wow. But
Yeah.
we would look
So
at it as like lunch.
lunch. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Like lunch. Yeah.
Isn't
I mean,
that
this is
something?
okay.
Isn't
Yeah.
that something when you think about
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. And again, this is why travel's so interesting because, you
Yeah.
know, we can take that $10 that we spend at McDonald's and go to McDonald's here, you know, in our hometown. And we can get the same meal probably overseas, you know, for the
Hmm.
same money pretty much. But, you know, it's interesting because even in McDonald's they have different things. Like, for example, in say KFC, because I walked into a KFC in Indonesia, they sell rice, they don't sell chips. So
Huh.
French fries, I was having a craving for French fries. I was like, you know, I'm eating all this Asian food in Indonesia. I was like, I would love, you know, some chips, you know, dirty
Yeah.
little chips, you know, just a little treat. Walked in there, they said, yeah, no, we don't sell chips. We have
They don't
rice.
and they don't sell it. They sell rice.
Yeah, because it's not popular because everyone
Right.
has rice with their meals, you know, and like for example in Mexico, you know, ketchup, this is so popular for, you know, us. They have green ketchup, you know, it's the
Yeah.
green sauce, you know. So it's different, you know, like
Yeah.
so I
The
don't say I
culture.
don't Mexico yeah, sorry. McDonald's is not something I promote, but in saying that, I will walk into a McDonald's in different countries to see how much things cost and see what they have. I
Yeah.
don't necessarily have to buy it, you
Right.
know, but it's interesting to see, you know, what they put in there, you know, what do they sell?
It
So,
is,
you know,
and that's
it's interesting.
McDonald's is kind of a universal thing, right? It's
Yeah.
every single place. So it's interesting. That's actually would be a really good video since you travel so much, going into different McDonald's and like showing what's on the menu. That would
Yeah,
be a great, actually, that would be a really good video.
I'll
Write that
take note of
down.
that, okay? and then after that I need to work it off.
I mean, you don't have to eat it. You could just show them like the menu and
Yeah,
what is in a McDonald's, like
yeah,
in
yeah,
Indonesia, in
yeah,
Paris, in wherever you go.
yeah. That's true. Very
Because you
true.
travel
That's true.
so much. You travel
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Yeah.
You
So
travel
look,
quite a bit.
yeah, but look, you know, when people say, look, you're so lucky, like, how do you get to travel? Like, you know, it's not luck. Sometimes it really is hard work. It's not easy and like it's prioritizing. Like, you know, I don't get my nails done. I don't get my hair done. I don't buy expensive makeups. I don't get my lashes done, all the things. And look, you know, if you do that, great, you know, it makes you feel good.
Right.
And I get it. But at the same time, that costs me money. Like, for example, you know, about a year and a half ago, I said, you know what, I'm sick of getting my nails done. You know, like I'm going to save that $80 and, you know, put it somewhere else. You
And
know,
be able
so
to travel more.
yeah, so it's just a
Hmm.
mindset. Like, you know, people say I can't afford to travel, and I get that. Like, it's not cheap, and especially coming from Australia. Like, I've got to say, guys, living in America, you have some cheap flights. Like, I am so jealous.
So
And if
not
you live in
lately.
Europe, sorry,
Not
sorry.
lately.
Not
Not
lately, okay.
lately.
Yeah, okay. Generalizing, okay. But even in like people living in Europe, like in London, they have access to some cheap flights. You know, again, you have to be flexible, you know. If you're looking for that location, that time of year, that date, that weekend, you know, okay, it might cost you a bit of money. So I get it. Like if you're restricted to that time and you know, it can be harder, but if you are flexible, you can work it. You can work the system. And I tell
So would
you,
you say that's one of the tips, like for a cheaper way to travel to find cheaper flights, is
yeah,
if you switch around like when you go?
yes. And not to travel in high season. If you go in high season, guess what? You're going to pay the high prices. Just like, you know, when you go, yeah, when you go to places that are in high season, like, you know, going to Vegas in, you know, like Super Bowl or something like that. Or, you know, I don't even know where Super Bowl is, but, you know, I'm
But I
thinking
know
it's
what you mean.
Vegas. But you know what I'm saying? If there's a big thing happening in Vegas, you know, of course it's going to be expensive to get to Vegas at that time of year. And the costs of the hotels are going to go up, you know?
Right.
So if you go to Vegas outside of that, it's probably really cheap. You probably get a good deal. So it's
Right.
the same thing, you know? And I guess one of the big things for me is because the flight is the most expensive thing for me personally from Australia. You
It
know,
is.
anywhere we go, like even to
What's
fly
an
in
average
Australia.
flight? Like what would, like you said
Oh,
it's expensive. Like what would be average?
okay. So an average flight is going to cost you at least $500 at least minimum to get to like Bali. Bali will probably, you can get deals, right? But again, traveling within, you know, like those times.
Mhm.
So I can't always travel in the deal times, you know, so you have to pay the prices, you know. But to get to Bali, right? Bali for us is like 6-7 hours away, depending on where you live in Australia. Okay.
Right.
And it's still going to cost you at least $500. It's $1,000 Australian. Okay. That's not cheap in the scale of life. It's not cheap, but it's
For a
not.
6-hour flight, $1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's not cheap. It's not
not
cheap. I'm
cheap.
gonna say.
And that's
Yeah,
for
that's what I'm
coach,
saying.
right? Like
Yeah.
basic.
Oh, frig, yeah. You're not
You
getting
said
business class.
frig, yeah.
Not a chance, you know. Funnily enough, a friend of mine was traveling down to Melbourne. So Brisbane to Melbourne is about 2 hours from us, okay?
Mhm.
You can get flights probably about $150, okay, for 2 hours. You know, that's domestic kind of flights.
Mhm.
He goes, oh, I think I might look at business class. I said, oh, good luck. Like, it costs you, it was about $1,000 Australian, about $500 for business class
For
for
2
2 hour flight.
No, I'm not
It's
doing that.
ridiculous. I don't care. I'm just sit on cattle class like everyone else, you know.
Mhm.
So you know, there flying is expensive, and you're saying that it's not cheap at the moment to fly in America. It's not. It's not cheap in
The
Australia.
prices have skyrocketed. Where I used to be like, if we go to like me and my husband, if we go to Florida, which is the domestic flight,
Yeah.
we used to be able to fly in the flight that was like $60-$70,
Yeah.
the most $100. Honey, not anymore.
Yeah.
You're
Look.
paying like
Since
200 and something to go
yeah.
on a domestic flight.
And then all the accommodation's gone up, the food's gone up, everything's gone up. And look.
So what I noticed, like when you're in your Indonesia video,
Yeah.
you 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 guys stayed in like, I don't know what, that wasn't a hotel.
No, that was that was different. That was my mum's got a house there in Indonesia.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was trying to
So
figure it out. I was like, did I miss something?
yeah.
It was her
Yeah. So
house.
it's her
Okay.
house in
I
Indonesia.
was like,
She
how did
built
they get that? And you had a kitchen. I'm like, how did they get that?
yeah, no, God, no, yeah, no. So that was a different experience. So I think the other side of it is like, you know, when you travel is to experience different things. Like I'm a backpacker, okay? Look, I know it's not for everyone. To carry a big
Right.
backpack, first of all, is not easy. Like it, you know, it's not, you know, you gotta be good with your balance and it's heavy carrying your stuff on your back. But I don't prioritize accommodation. For me personally, I'm there for like such a small time to sleep and get out. So I don't prioritize, you know, accommodation. But it depends on where you're going. Like, for example, if you're going to a beach location and you're going to be staying a lot of the time at the beach, going back to your room, chilling, okay, maybe I might prioritize the room a little bit more, okay? But if I'm going to a city like Paris or London or like going to Sydney or in where I live in Australia,
Yeah.
well, I don't live in Sydney, but if I was going to Sydney an hour away by flight, I stay
Mhm.
in the backpackers because I'm not going to Sydney to see the room. I'm going to Sydney to go outside, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm out all day. Like literally, I'm one of these people that
You
I will
outside. You one of those people
walk
that's
to death.
outside.
Yeah, like I'm not there to see the room. I'm there to see whatever's out there, you know? So I get back to my room absolutely knackered. I sleep, get up in the morning, go again. So
So your
I
room
don't put
selection, you do. So when you primarily travel, what do you do? Like,
okay.
what kind of rooms would you pick?
Okay, so when I say backpackers, because a lot of people don't know what that really is, because they don't choose to do it, is like a dorm room. Okay, now hear me out. Hear me out.
Okay, I'm
It sounds
listening.
scary. It sounds scary because people go, "What the what?" Yeah, nah. Okay, and I try to drag my friends along for the fun, and they're like, "Yeah, nah. You keep that for yourself." So what the room is generally is a room with 8 beds, like 4 beds, and they're bunk beds. Okay, that's generally yes. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Keep me out.
Breathing.
Breathing. Generally, they're a room with 4 beds, bunk beds. Okay. Now, I'm not painting a good picture because sometimes these rooms, because they're cheap and nasty, you're climbing up on the bunk bed and the whole bed is swaying because they're cheap rooms.
Question.
Yeah.
Pause. Are you in this room with other people or by?
Yes. Yeah. There's strangers sleeping in the bed under me, and I'm climbing up on the bed, and it's rocking. Yep.
You are an adventurer. You have the right name for your channel. Let me pause right here. Guys, if you're coming in, there's a few people that came in. We have Xploradora here, Xploradora 80 here on YouTube. And I wanted her to come on to talk about her experiences with traveling because she's been to over 60 countries, right? And your goal is to go to 80 countries. And I thought that was really interesting because I like to travel as well, but she has surpassed my she has far surpassed what I ever have done. And I really
know
like
why now.
perspectives. Yeah. So she's telling us about how she does it. So, okay, back to your accommodations.
So I'm painting the picture, okay? Now you're freaking out, but just hear me out,
I'm
okay?
listening. I'm hearing you.
Things are upgraded, okay? So backpacker dorm rooms, like, you know, the old camp rooms, you know, we're talking some rooms can have, like, I've stayed in a place in Venice with 30 beds.
Whoa.
Yeah. So like there's snoring, there's farting, you know, there's a lot of stuff happening, but you're just there to sleep, okay, guys? You're there to sleep. And a lot of the time backpacker hostels, you know, again, you're congregating in a place where it's, you know, you're just trying to sleep, okay, and
Yeah.
you get to meet other travelers too, and that's part of another bit of the travel is you get to meet other people who've had experiences that you haven't had, so you're getting you're getting their experiences, like, where have you gone, where did you go today, like, it's having a conversation. Look, in today's life we are so stuck in our four walls, and we are, you know, sadly we are, you know, on the internet a lot. We're not making genuine conversation that, you know, look, you know, we're having conversation, and I'm not saying this is not genuine, but I'm saying that the world is out there, you know, like, you know, it's out there, you know,
Yeah.
and having a conversation with strangers is such a beautiful thing. And I know a lot of people are scared of doing that these days for different reasons, and I know that, but having a conversation with a stranger, you can learn so much about everything, you know, if you
Yeah.
just ask the questions. So for a traveler, if I'm in a backpacker hostel, I'm in the place that I'm getting the knowledge from these people that have traveled to all these weird and wonderful places. So I'm getting more knowledge of places that I would like to bank and go one day. Or,
Yeah.
you know, if I'm in that place and they say, oh yeah, I went to so and so that day. I'm like, oh, I've never even heard of that. That's not in my guidebook. I didn't see that online. I didn't see that on Instagram. Oh my God, let's go there. How did you
Yeah.
get there? Write some notes and go there. You know,
Yeah.
so you're getting that first-hand experience. And again, that's not for everyone, okay? I know that not everyone is like that and wants to talk to a stranger and sleep in a room with, you know, other random
That
people.
part I take a pause with that part, like
Yeah,
sleeping in a
okay.
room with strangers. But I would like to be able to travel to more countries. I don't know about the sleeping.
Okay. So I can upgrade you, okay? I
Okay,
can
upgrade
upgrade
me
you.
a little bit.
I can upgrade you a little bit,
Can I have
okay?
my own room and bathroom? That's
Yes, okay,
kind of
okay, yes. So, you know, I'm not that young 20-year-old backpacking anymore. I do
Mhm.
like a bit of comfort, okay? I get it. And sometimes, you know, you're feeling a little anxious and whatever, you might want a private room. So I've done that too, okay? But I push myself to do those rooms that I don't like. I'm not saying I love it, but you know, if I could have my own room, of course I'm going to have my own room, you know? But sometimes I push myself to do that other side, okay? So at
Mhm.
a backpacker hostel, you can get private rooms with your own ensuite. Sometimes you have to share the bathroom, but you have your own private room. You're locked.
Okay.
It's locked. You know, it's safe. You know, so you can have that. So it's the best of both worlds. It honestly is, because you get to still, you know, meet other backpackers in the, you know, the lounge room or kitchen area,
Mhm.
but you've still got your own bedroom, bathroom. And you know, sometimes they're really nice places. I'm going to challenge you to go Google some
I
backpacker
am.
hostels, because, like, for example, Miami, South Beach, there's some nice backpacker hostels down there. They
Mm.
are like Art Deco buildings. They're really cool. And yeah, really cool. But again, sometimes space permitted and the cost of, you know, how much they cost, you know, pushing yourself to go into those dorm rooms is just how I make it work. But
Yeah.
there are options in backpacker hostels when you look at, you know, online, private room ensuite, private room, shared bathroom. So they're cheaper for obviously dorm rooms. You can get dorm rooms just for females. You can get smaller dorm rooms with only 4 beds, 8 beds. The cheapest room will be a mixed, and this will freak you out, a mixed dorm room
You see me
with
like,
like 15, 30 people. You know, that's going to be a cheap room, okay?
yeah.
Depending on where you're going. And look, I have done that. I don't do it anymore. I'm not sleeping with a stinky man next to me, you know. But you know, it does happen. Like for example, when I was backpacking, that first trip to Europe I took, when I figured out my feet, I was in Switzerland. Switzerland's amazing, mind you.
Wow.
And Switzerland's expensive, so I was in a backpacker hostel. And get this will completely freak you out. It freaked me out. They have double bed bunks.
So someone's sleeping next to you?
It was a guy. Yes.
I don't wanna.
I
like
don't know
sleeping in the bed with you.
No, okay. He was in his own like sheets, I guess. I'm not sleeping in a shared doona or anything like that. But
so it's kind of like next to each, like. But this, I see what you mean.
Yeah, it's a bed. It's a double bed or queen, but there's 2 people on the bed and they're not together.
Wow.
But I'm talking.
You're an adventurer. Like you.
Look,
are
it did freak me out. Okay, that did freak me out. Okay, a 20-year-old Dora was a little freaked out by that. Okay, and I'd still be freaked out by that. Okay, but that was how it was. That was a weird thing. That was the weirdest. But you know, I have been to some really amazing backpacker hostels with an ensuite. I'm just trying to think of one off the top of my head. Okay, I literally last weekend was going to go to Byron Bay. I didn't go, but I was looking at backpacker hostels. It was for a dorm room was going to be $50 Australian, which is about 25 American. Okay.
There's a question
if I got
about the beds.
Yep.
Next Level Vision. She says, "I love this idea. What are you paying for the beds?"
Okay. Well, again, depends on where you're going. So I'm just talking about Byron Bay is one of the. It's a very flashy place in Australia to go. It's a beachy area. It's very touristy. Okay, lots of backpacker hostels, lots of hotels, lots of accommodations.
Take a note, by the way. You said Byron Bay.
Byron Bay, Byron Bay. It's very touristy. All the celebrities go there. They all have houses there. It's very chic. Okay, but it's also very hippie-like. So it's hippie versus chic. It's on the beach and it's surfy. It's amazing. Okay, so I was looking literally last weekend to go, right? For a backpacker dorm that I'm explaining, like just a dorm room, someone sleeping above you, someone over this across from you. It was going to be about $25 American. Okay, that's pretty cheap. Okay, and you're getting
$25 a night.
Yep.
Wow.
Okay, that was cheap.
That's really cheap.
Yep. And some of the backpackers even offered you free breakfast for that price. Okay. You had to pay for your parking, but I looked at the same accommodation to get a private room because I was planning to go see a DJ. I was going to be out late. I just wanted my own room. Okay. So that was going to be, it was 150 Australian dollars. It was about $75. It was a private room with your ensuite. Okay. So $75.
So you have a bathroom.
Yeah, you have your own bathroom. So $75 American, right? At a backpacker hostel, it has a pool. You know, it looked decent. You know, that's pretty cheap.
That's pretty
good.
You think?
Yeah,
especially in that area you were describing.
That's what I'm saying. So, you know, this is what I'm saying. Like, you know, for example, Miami, you know, South Beach is an expensive place. You know, 10 years ago I was there backpacking and, you know, it was hard to get anywhere to stay. But like they didn't have the particular place I was looking at didn't have a private room, but I got a backpackers. But that's how you make it work. If you go to Paris, Rome, London, Byron Bay, Sydney, you've got to cut your costs somehow. If you want to go to these places, you have to cut your costs. And if you want to, you want to go for 2 nights and stay at the Sheraton or the Hilton, knock yourself out, okay? And you know you'll stay your 2 nights. But if you want to stay longer, you might have to cut somewhere. And that's what I do. I cut the accommodation costs. But I've got to say, it's not as bad as you think. And
no, I would consider doing the private room if I have my own bathroom. But I'm telling you right now, I'm not sleeping in no room with the man next to me or the people on top of me. But if I can have my own private room and it's like, you know, like your own room and your own bathroom, I will do that. Especially to go somewhere that's really expensive.
Yeah.
Do
Okay.
that.
I'm gonna upgrade you a little bit, okay, and just push your
we
button.
got another upgrade. All right, let's go.
Okay, but I'm taking you back to the dorm room, okay?
Okay.
Hear me out, okay? This is the new age, okay? Have you ever heard of capsule hotels?
Yes. Don't they have those more in Asia?
They do. Asia. Oh, they have them in Australia now too. I think London have them too. They're getting more and more popular, okay?
I don't think I could do
But
that because it's like
very claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so people that don't know, you're little like a coffin.
You're pretty
A
much
little,
in a coffin.
yeah, but it's a little bit bigger. You can swing a cat, okay?
Mhm.
If you're following me, there is a short in my shorts, and I am dancing in my little capsule. And so it is, you can swing a cat. I did it, and I was doing a little dance in my little capsule. So there is room, okay? And that was in Taiwan. And in Singapore, I did one just recently. So again, this is where I'm upgrading you, but I'm pushing you. It is a backpacker hostel. It is a bunk bed. There is someone sleeping above you. There is someone sleeping, you know, across the corridor a little bit. There was 8 of these capsules, okay? But you can close it down, okay? You can't lock this particular one. Some capsules you can lock, and they're really cool, but you can close it down. So when you're sleeping, no one sees you sleeping.
Right.
You can close it down through the day. You have lockers that you lock your stuff away anyway. You're not leaving your things there. But you can close it down. So you are like in your own private little room, so to speak. You've got your charger in the back there. You've got, like, this one that I stayed in Singapore was really quite nice. It was it wasn't cheap, but again, Singapore's not cheap. So it was about $120 Australian. So it's about $60 American. You had, again, you're sharing a room with some other strangers. There were men too in that room too. Okay, just putting you out of your comfort zone. But I can get into my bed, put my little shutter down, and I can't see anyone. You know, I've got my charger in there.
Security here? Like, is there security in these places?
Not in your room, but
No, but I mean, like in the facility or something.
yeah.
Okay.
They basically they lock you. You know, you've got codes to get in the rooms.
Okay.
Some places have cards that you got to swipe, but most days it's codes. And you know, no strangers are allowed upstairs. They're watching people that go up the elevators. Yeah, the security is really, really good. Like in backpacker hostels, you can't bring a party to your room. Okay, just saying. You know, you can't bring a random to your room.
Right.
It's not allowed. It's just not thing. Yeah.
So
Back in the day,
you can't go out backpacking for the day or just traveling around, meet some nice gentleman and be like, you can come back to my room with me.
yeah. No.
I want to pause here because we have a few new people that came in. So guys, I just want to, is she describing a ship? Oh, no. So we have Xploradora here, and she is from Australia. She actually, guys, is in tomorrow already. In Australia, it's already Monday morning. So she is up sacrificing her Monday morning so that she can speak with us. And I truly appreciate that. And we've been talking about traveling and how you can travel on a budget. So right now she's describing capsule living and staying in a little tiny capsule in some of the places that she's been to. So she's not talking about a ship. She's actually speaking about hostels where you can stay when you travel.
Yeah. So look, it's not everyone's cup of tea, and I get that, but I'm just kind of, you know,
but it's nice to hear a different perspective.
Yeah. And I guess that's probably what my channel's about, is giving you a different perspective. It might not be something you want to do, but it's giving you an inside glimpse to what it could be. And again, people say, well, you're lucky you've been able to travel to 60 countries. That's how I do it. You know, it's not for everyone. I'm not saying go do it. But, I'm saying get outside of your comfort zone, push the barrier a little bit.
Yes.
There's options. Like, as I said, backpacking has definitely upgraded in the world. Like, you can have private rooms, you can get your own ensuite these days. You can go to a backpacker hostel. You don't even have to talk to people if you don't want to, Like,
Exactly.
a lot of these times, and look, a lot of the times they have, like, you're checking in online even. Like, the world has changed, okay? Some people don't want to talk to people. That's, you can. It is what it is. And then you can go to backpacker hostels, and because a lot of them have kitchens. And this is another way to save money because, again, the expense of eating out, breakfast, lunch, and tea is expensive. Okay, in big cities, it's very expensive, like London, Paris, New York. It's expensive. I mean, hey, you can get a hot dog on the street. I love those, but they're not good food. It's not good food to eat every day, and not for
Right.
breakfast, lunch, and tea. So to have access to a kitchen is another really cool aspect of travel and cheap travel. And I'm not saying, and also, like, for example, I'm saying backpacker hostels. I also stay. Some places don't have backpacker hostels. It's like Asia, for example, like Thailand. They have they just got rooms, cheap rooms. Sometimes they have the toilet out in the hallway. Sometimes you got your own room, like bathroom, but they're cheap rooms.
Yeah.
You wouldn't call them backpackers. You wouldn't call them hostels, but they're cheap rooms. They're probably like a 2-star hotel,
Hmm.
But some of these 2-star hotels are like like a street away from the beach in Thailand.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
some
like
of
you
them, like,
kind of have to like sacrifice one thing for the other, right?
yeah. And like,
Because
for
you're
example,
not going to be in your room all night. I mean,
no,
well,
and
all
like,
night, but all day.
yeah, but like, for example, like, again, I'm a backpacker, but to go to the islands in Thailand, you can stay in like bungalows on the beach. But I'm not talking the Maldives bungalows overlooking the water. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a little hut on the beach, running water and a toilet. They can be cheap, but you have to move away from the main little bit. If they're on the
Yeah.
main beach, you can't get cheap accommodation, okay? Just go down 100 meters down the beach and you'll find these little cheap huts. Like, there's an island called Koh Lipe in Thailand. And I
What can
literally,
you
you get
spell
up
that?
Ko, which is island in Thai, Ko,
Uh-huh.
and the new word is Lipe, Lipe. Koh
L
Lipe.
E.
It is such a cute little island. And you turn up by boat because it's an island, and they dump you at obviously the main beach. So all the big resorts are on the main beach, of course,
Right.
naturally. Okay. So if you book one of those, or a little bungalow there, you go into one of them, you're going to pay the price. Okay. Convenience. The location is location. Okay. 100 meters down the road, literally walking down the beach. I'm like, hey, how much is your accommodation? Oh, yeah. It was cheap as anything. I think I paid about 50 Australian dollars. Like, again, it was $25. It was so cheap.
Wow.
Like, I had a bungalow. It was so cute. It had running water. I mean, it had electricity. It locked. It's safe. I was on the beach, and I'll tell you, the beach was
That
amazing.
sounds, I love the beat. So
Yeah.
that sounds
Oh,
amazing.
so my biggest tip is, like, you don't have to stay at the big hotels right at the main location. Just look a little bit behind, to the side. You can find hidden gems. Okay.
Yeah.
And again, this is a lot of bit about the way I travel. Is I don't like to book accommodation in advance because I want to find these little hidden gems. Because that little hidden gem wouldn't have had a Facebook page or Instagram page or on bookit.com. You know, the ones that are on bookit.com are generally going to be the more, the ones that have, are more popular.
I have a
Okay.
question.
Yep.
So when you go,
Yep.
you book your flight. Obviously, you have to book the flight
Yep.
in advance. So you don't have any accommodations when you get there.
Sometimes not.
Wow, you are really living
Yeah.
on
So
the edge. Yeah,
I live on the edge. I live on the edge. And look,
you live
sometimes
on the edge.
this bites me in the ass sometimes, okay? And
Mm.
I pay for it. Again, I'll give you South Beach as an example.
Oh,
I
but we
don't
have
know.
one more question about
Yeah.
the accommodation
Yeah.
piece. Are Americans welcome? Like when you go to these hostels and stuff like that? Well, you're not American, but do you see Americans there?
Shit, yeah. Like like it doesn't matter who you are.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
You know,
I've
we
stayed in,
worry about that as Americans because
yeah. Oh, was it? That's
We worry
sad.
because the rest of the world doesn't really like us, and then when we open our mouths, they'll be like, "Oh, there's an American."
I've stayed in lots of places with Americans.
You ever see African Americans when
Oh
you go?
yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. But the saddest thing is that, generalizing again, if we stay in hotels, you're not going to see people, okay? Because you're going up the lift, you're going to your room, that's it, okay? But when you stay in backpacker hostels or cheaper accommodations, you are going to see different people, okay?
Yeah,
Different walks of life.
yeah,
So yeah, that's why I've seen lots of different people. And look, Americans generally, when I backpacked, especially in Europe, I did see a few Americans. I see a lot of Aussies, New Zealanders, people from the UK. Backpacking is a big thing for us,
yeah,
Again, for Australians and New Zealanders, it's because it's cheaper. We can't afford like the flight's going to kill us. Half our accommodation. I mean, half our trip is our flight. You know, for people in America and the UK, your flight is like 2 or 3 hours sometimes. It's not that expensive, but ours is like 20. I flew to Ibiza last year. Took me 36 hours.
Oh,
So, you can only imagine the cost of that flight. It's bloody expensive, okay? So,
yeah,
what I'm saying is, us Australians have to figure out a way to get cheaper. And that's
yeah,
probably me, okay? But again, like even for Americans, that, cost of living it's getting more expensive. You've got to get frugal, you've got to get smarter. And, getting outside your comfort zones, not booking accommodation. Yes, it can bite you in the ass. Like, for example, when I went to um, South Beach, I think it was Memorial Day, and I didn't know it was Memorial Day. I'm Australian. I didn't know your day, your public holidays. I didn't book accommodation. I couldn't get accommodation. The place was jammed. I
wow.
went to a backpacker hostel and I said, look, and they said, no, we've got no rooms. They said, best we can do is I'll look after your backpack for you. You can just go and walk around. So basically, I walked around the streets all night.
Oh my God.
And and then I was able to sit in the foyer of the backpacker hostel too. I mean, there was someone at the hostel too the whole time. So I was safe, but there was lots of people around because it was Memorial
Yeah,
Day, but it can bite you in the ass. So, you gotta, like if you're away for 1 week and okay, maybe you might want to book your accommodation,
yeah.
depends on, yeah, it depends on how you
We
travel.
have we
Okay.
have a question from
Yep.
chat, and then we're going to be wrapping up the live. We're gonna have to do a part two because I have so many more questions, but for the sake of time,
Yep.
we are going to be bringing this to a close. But we had a question from
Yep.
Coach Sherry, who was on my. I don't know if you got to see my interview with her last week. Well, our conversation
Yes.
last week. I don't really interview. I like to have my guests come on and then we just have a conversation. So Coach Sherry said, please ask your guest, did she figure out why the kangaroos were on the beach from one of her videos?
Oh, yes. Yeah, it was a cyclone. So basically, what happened was that was about a month and a half ago. We had a cyclone in our area, which is not normal. So cyclones are kind of like hurricanes to you guys. It's
Mhm.
not normal in my area,
Really?
and it was really windy. The cyclone was coming. The storm was coming. So I believe the kangaroos were disorientated. So there was just a lot of wind. They were coming from a little kind of bushy area nearby, but it's not normal to see them on the beach. So I believe they were disorientated because of the wind. And yeah, that was why they were on the beach. And it's not a common sight in this area because it's a built up holiday location, Caloundra, but it's near some nature where there's some wild, the kangaroos.
That's what
And
that's one of the reasons I want to come to us. I want to see a kangaroo.
honestly, they are so cool. Like, I'm Australian, I live here, born here. I still get so excited to see a kangaroo.
Yeah.
They are so cool. And like people think that we have kangaroos in our backyards. We don't have them in our backyard. Okay. But they are plentiful. Okay. Like if you drive at dusk in certain areas, you got to be careful because they will be attracted by the lights of your cars and you'll hit them. It's
So
really sad.
that's kind of like here where I live, there's deer all over the
Yeah.
place.
and they get
And
attracted by the lights.
they'll ruin your car.
Yeah. Yeah. So you don't want to hit
Ruin your
it. You don't
whole
want to
life.
hit one. You don't want
Yeah.
to hit one. But like, for example, if I want to get my fill of seeing a kangaroo in the wild, where my father is buried, he was cremated, is a cemetery, for example. There is a lot of like bushland nearby. And so I can go to this cemetery and there are kangaroos. So it's actually really quite cute. So, a sad thing that I go visit my dad, and there are kangaroos. So it kind of brings a bittersweet, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So you can see kangaroos and it's pretty amazing. Got to say, come. It's amazing.
I
What can I
I
say?
I look forward to it. I really enjoyed this conversation. I love your spirit. Like you have so much energy. Like you absolutely like if you could travel full time and do it all the time, that's exactly what you would do. You would
I
just
would
travel.
do.
You would probably get rid of your apartment and travel the world the rest of your life.
Well, you know what? I wouldn't. You know
Oh,
what?
you
It's so
would keep it.
weird. I'd have a home base. I'd have a
Okay.
home base because there's nothing like home. And that's
Yeah.
what I say. Like, there's nothing like home.
Yeah.
Home is where your heart is. And like, I only have a small little block of land and
Mhm.
I grow fruit and vegetables and I have chickens in the backyards running around. So it keeps me grounded. But at the same time, I love to grab my backpack and go somewhere interesting,
We had a few comments I wanted to just touch on, and then
Yep.
we're going to end the live.
Sure.
So definitely do a part 2 of
Sure.
this conversation. So just Danielle said, I would feel like they would try to pull some shady, sneaky stuff, especially for Americans. The dollar is worth more in some places, but not. I'm sorry. The blah blah blah. The dollar is worth more in some places, not all, but in some places.
Look, I think you're going to find that racism and is everywhere. Even in Australia, we have been told that we're quite a racist country. Okay, so there are countries that like for example, I'm half Asian. Okay, I get racism comments to me. Even
Yeah.
in my own country, okay. So racism is real, and it's everywhere. And like look, it's really sad, but it can be part of travel. But
Yeah.
at the same time, if you keep yourself high and you don't get into it. Like if someone's gonna, catcall you or, you know, say comments to you, you just ignore them and just keep on going. Like. But if you engage in sometimes that
Ah,
conversation, you're firing it up, and you're just gonna, it's just gonna burn you up, and then you're just gonna get. That's all you see. You
that's
know.
all you see.
So it's all you see. And like for example, again in Mexico, I spent a lot of time in Mexico, so I lived there. But even in there even Mexicans are racist against different races in Mexico.
Yeah.
It's everywhere, and I'm guessing in America you can be the same. Okay, so
Mhm.
it's ripe everywhere, and if that's going to be your thing to stop you traveling, I'm really sorry that's going to stop you traveling because you're going to miss out on some stuff.
Yeah.
But
And
you know what?
that's kind of that you can use that philosophy in life.
Yes,
There's
yeah,
always going to be people that will say things about you or against you,
exactly,
about your race, about
yeah,
who you look, or whatever have you. But
exactly,
you can either feed into it or
yeah,
not.
or just let it
Your
go.
ch- your choice or what you can control is how you
Yeah,
react to it and how
yeah,
you fly above it, pretty much.
yeah.
So you're saying don't let that kind of stuff and I think
Don't
she
feed
also
it.
meant as far as the money, like them doing shady stuff with the dollar.
Okay, look, I was saying before in the start,
You,
one of
you
my
was you touched on this before, Danielle, before you
yeah,
came in, but yes,
yeah. So anywhere I go, money's my least favorite thing to deal with. Okay, it's
right,
easy to put it on your card. Okay, but even in your card comes with hidden things. Okay, so
right,
dealing with people with cash, yeah, it's not even Americans that get ripped off. Australians get ripped off. Even in Australia, we get ripped off.
yeah,
You can get ripped off in your own country. Going to go to the local market. They give you back the wrong change. Even in Indonesia, where I was last, they can manipulate you because you're not used to the notes. So if you don't know the notes and you're not working out what they're supposed to give you back, they will give you the wrong bit back. And I go, oh no, you've given me the wrong money. Oh, sorry. There you go. You
Yeah.
know, and then
You're sorry.
and then
They
you
know
and then
they're
you've got
gonna
the
well.
language, and then you've got the language, you know,
Yeah.
different. So like, you know, you got to be switched on. You know, if you're hungover and you're tired and you're not thinking properly and you're hungry and you know, you're just like, give me that sandwich, and then you give them the money and you just, you know, you come back to your room, you look at your change, you go, what happened to my money? Yeah, you're probably going to get ripped off because they're going to see you coming. You know, they're going to see you tired. You know, you look exhausted. Yeah, you've got to be a little switched on. It doesn't matter where you go. This can happen in America, it can happen in Australia, okay? But I guess you can limit these things by, you know, having a good sleep, looking after yourself, and knowing if you're really, really tired, you got to be careful with your money. Be careful with your things. Okay, I'm going to here to get a sandwich, you know, I've got $20 or whatever you got. Okay, this, you know, the sandwiches cost $10. Okay, sure, I should get $10 back. You know, look
Right.
at what you get back, you know? So, and again, we're so used to using cards in our own day-to-day life that when we're using cash, we're not mindful, okay? So it's just that taking that minute to think, and it's a minute you got to take. So yeah, that's my thing. Like, you can get ripped off anywhere, you know, whether it be travel or at home. So it doesn't, you just got to go with it and think about it.
And just kind of be vigilant and be mindful.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like,
So
you
guys,
know,
I see that there's quite a few people coming into the
okay.
chat. Xploradora, I am going to acknowledge the rest of the folks that came in, guys, and then we
Yep,
are
go for
going
it.
to end the stream. I'm sorry that, you know, some of you are coming in now. You're gonna have to go ahead and watch the replay because
Yeah.
Xploradora was dropping some really, really good, helpful tips for travel if you're trying to become a person that travels the world. But unfortunately, you haven't hit the lotto yet, and we're going to travel, and we're going to travel to different countries and do everything that we want to do. And she gave us some tips on how to do that without breaking the bank, which is huge for us. Huge.
And
So
I've
we
got so many more things to share with you, but another
yeah,
time. We'll look at my channel.
what we're gonna do is we're definitely gonna do a part 2 of our
Sure.
conversation. So let me just go up here. We have Ben Lena in the building. Ben Lena, guys, she is actually one of the ladies that does or did. She was one of my former Zone Gang ladies who used to work out with me with my, you know, I do my online workout
Yep.
to have that business. Hi, Ben Lena. Are you coming on here because you're joining the challenge and I'm gonna see you tomorrow? Is that why you coming here? Because we could talk, girl. We have Ramon in the building. How are you, Ramon? How are you? I'm doing well. How are you? I hope everything is going well on your Sunday. We have T's Journey here. Welcome, 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 welcome. You guys must have been somewhere else and you came over here. Let me tell you something. 6 o'clock on Sunday, I do my lives, and you never know who I'm going to have and what gems they're going to share with you. You never know. So you don't want to miss it. You want to be here at 6 o'clock. Queen's Alchemy. Welcome. Welcome to the live. Welcome. We've got teas. Oh, look. One of our best friends. This is Nino and Lo, guys, and this is another content creator couple that I absolutely love. They live, I believe, in Canada. And if you guys want to see some delicious cooking videos, this is definitely a channel to follow. They said one of our best vacations was taking a flight to Florida and booking a last-minute cruise from the airport. Wow, this last-minute thing must really work
There's something
out.
in that. There's something in that.
There's something in that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look, someone said the Maldives is on their bucket list. Me too.
Oh, me too.
Oh, look, she answered. She said, yes, let's talk later. I need you bad. I got you, girl. I got you. We got a challenge starting tomorrow. Maybe that's divine intervention telling you to come in here so I can push you in the right direction. Let's go. Els Endeavors is here. Hi, Els Endeavors. Welcome, everybody. Look, you said how do you say it? Is it Maldives?
Maldives.
It's
I think
Maldives.
it depends on your accent. Maldives or Maldives? I say Maldives.
I say Maldives, but I feel like
Yeah,
I'm saying it wrong. I don't know. But
but it's
that
French,
is
so
on my
maybe it is
bucket list.
Maldives.
And in order to be able to go, we might have to lock into some of these tips you're talking about, because
Yep.
going there and staying on one of those bungalows, I don't know if you guys have priced it. Me and my husband have. It is like
It's expensive.
$14,000. Okay.
Well, interestingly enough, I can give you an alternative to Maldives that looks exactly like it.
You know what? We're gonna save that to make them come back for the next time.
Good. Well, that'll be my
Let's
next
write
one.
that down.
How to go to the Maldives for cheap.
How to go to the Maldives for
Cheap.
cheap.
On a budget.
On a budget. On a
I was
budget.
literally looking up how to go to Tahiti on a budget too just
And
recently.
Tahiti. You know what? We're gonna do that too, because that's another one of my places
Yeah,
I would love to travel
it's
to.
possible too.
And I don't want to have to like feel like you can't go somewhere, just because it seems so expensive.
Expensive,
But
exactly.
guys, I thank you so much, so much.
Thank
For
you
being
very much for having
here.
me
I
online too,
thank
hey.
you.
Thank you.
Xploradora 80, guys. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe. She also, not only does she have great tips, but she also her videos are very well edited, like extremely well edited. Like she takes her time. What camera do you use? We'll talk about that too the next time. You really, really have great editing skills. I don't know if you know that,
Thank
girl,
you.
but
Thank
I
you.
love your
I
video.
don't think that of me, so I actually
I
don't
love it,
think that.
and your energy shines through on your videos.
Oh,
I
good.
really,
Thank
really,
you.
I love to see that. I love to talk to different types of people that do different things other than myself. I like that. I enjoy that, and I thank you so much for
Hey,
being
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank
here. And
you very much for inviting me on. I look forward to next time. Take
I
two.
can't listen. I cannot wait until next time, because we're gonna enjoy and have such a great time again.
Thanks,
So
guys, for
thanks to
listening.
everyone in the chat. Remember, please subscribe to Dora's channel, Xploradora here on YouTube, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. See you
Thanks,
later.
Coach. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.